Hi, this is Joe. Thanks for coming back for another video. In this video, we're going to be overhauling the front and rear brake calipers. So we have the rear caliper here, and let's start preparing it for the overhaul. And first of all, there is a screw here, and this screw holds the brake pads, and this is a replacement item. So we're going to pop out the little cap there, and okay, it looks like going to have to get a hex head wrench there, and we'll loosen that that bolt that holds the calipers in place. So let me go get that. Okay, we have a 5mm hex head wrench, and we're now going to loosen the caliper holding bolt. Now you want to take this one out because in the All Balls Racing rebuild kit they give you a new bolt. So that's really cool. This one is pretty rusty and cruddy. So we're going to take this one out and we're going to discard this. And I don't have a piston removing tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some compressed air, and we're going to loosen the bleeding screw, and then we're going to try to use compressed air to blow that piston out. So let's go ahead and remove that. That is all cruddy. We're going to have to take a wire brush and clean that up. It looks really gross. Okay, point the piston down away from you, and now we're going. I have a blow nozzle with a rubber tip on it, so that will make it a little easier to have a good seal. There we go. And as you see, we were able to blow the piston out of the caliper assembly. Now, if you look really close, you'll see some damage. Looks like we had some rubbing on the piston. If you rub your finger over here, you'll see that there was some rubbing on there. So we're going to try to fix this. We're not going to replace this piston. While I have it out, rub your fingers over the surface of the outside of the piston, because we want to make sure there's no scoring. And as you see, there's a little nick right here where it rubbed on the outer edge of the piston. So we're going to get some 400 sandpaper and we're going to try to flatten this surface here. For the meantime, though, let's take the rest of the caliper apart. We have the banjo bolt here. So we're going to take this out. And notice there are two washers on the banjo bolt, and the overhaul kit comes with new banjo bolt washers. So we're going to clean that up. Let's put this aside, and we're going to take our finger and we're going to run it around the inside of the piston to make sure there's no scoring. We're going to take and inspect that. And then there is some O-rings in here that we're going to change. So first of all, before we do that, let's go ahead and see if we can clean up this piston. I'm going to go get some 400 sandpaper, a little bit of oil, and we're going to try to smooth that surface down on that piston. We have some 400 sandpaper on a flat surface. We have the piston. I'm going to wet sand with a little bit of brake fluid. So pour a little bit of brake fluid on the sandpaper. Don't use any petroleum-based products on brake components. That's not good. So now we're going to take the piston, turn it upside down on the flat surface, and we're going to try to keep this piston as flat as possible. And what we're doing is we're wet sanding the bottom of that piston to remove those scuff marks. Okay, let's get a paper towel. Okay, the surface is looking pretty smooth now, and on the inside there's just a tiny rip. What we want to do now is get yourself a toothpick. Don't use a screwdriver, anything metal. Inside here there is a dust seal and there's a piston seal. So I already pulled these out because the battery died in my camera. The thin one is the dust seal. That goes to the outside. The thicker one is the piston seal. That goes to the inside. So you want to pull those out. And now we've pretty much removed everything from inside the caliper assembly. So now what we can do is we can start cleaning up everything. We want to get some compressed air. And we want to blow out all the passageways. Make sure there's no dust or dirt in the caliper area. And now what we can do is we can get some brake cleaner and we can clean up So now everything is cleaned up. Let's get some paper towels and wipe this stuff down. Really want to make sure you get your piston clean because we did all that sanding on the face of the piston, so we don't want to have any grit going back into the caliper when we reassemble that. And let's go ahead, get the wire brush, and we'll clean up the threads, remove the old banjo washers because we're going to be replacing those with new ones. Make sure you clean the hole in the banjo boat because that's where your brake fluid goes into the line. And notice there's a lot of crud on the end of that bleeding screw. You want to make sure all of that is removed. And we're going to hit everything with a little compressed air one more time. Okay, at this point we can now start assembling the calipers with the new components. Let's start the assembly. We put the new banjo boat washers on the banjo boat. Let's go ahead and screw that back in. And then when we install the caliper on the bike, we'll then put the brake lines on. We're not going to put the brake bleeding screw in yet because we want to seat the piston. So let's get the nice thing about these kits is they provide you new rubber boots for the caliper, which is really nice. Let's go ahead and get the dust seal and the piston seal installed. And let's go ahead and get some fresh brake fluid, and let's rub it around on the inside of the cylinder wall of the piston. And we're also going to rub it on the piston seal here. Okay, we have the piston seal installed. Now we can take and install the dust seal. And again, we're going to put some fresh brake fluid on that seal. Okay, we have the piston seal, we have the dust seal. Okay, let's get a little bit more fresh brake fluid and let's rub it on the piston. Then let's gently install the piston in, and we have that installed properly. Now let's go ahead and we will put the brake pads on right before we put the caliper on the bike. For the time being, we're just going to insert the caliper pin. Again, this is a 5mm hex head. We won't tighten that all the way in. We will take a little rubber cap, put that off to the side. Now we can take and put the bleeding boot on the bleed screw. Actually, let's put the small end on first. And for now, again, we'll install the brake pads and the boots right before we put the caliper on the bike. So the rear brake caliper has now been overhauled, and let's move on now to the front calipers. Again, it's always a good idea to get yourself some storage containers. Keep all your finished products in the proper containers so you don't lose any of your parts.